Hello YouTube, this is Radiant Sealer and I'm here with my first Star Wars Destiny deck profile. This deck I'd like to call Admiral Ackbar Shot First. It is a red and yellow hero deck based on Elite Finn and Elite Admiral Ackbar. I'm currently proxying one die for each of them until I get my hang on the other two. So Finn has 10 life and Admiral Ackbar only has 9, so this is 19 life total deck, which means that it has to finish off early. If it goes into a long game, this deck really doesn't come out very well. So the good thing about the deck is of course the dice running. Ackbar is ran for his double focus die and his double resource die, enabling this card to run some really potent cards early on. His power is not so much used in this deck, but it is there to deal 2 damage in case the opponent runs out of cards in his hand. The Finn card is here to include some pretty sweet villain weapons and some pretty sweet villain, one pretty sweet villain vehicle in this deck. Also his dice, which has both 1 and 2 range damage, pair well with the plus dice that you'll be seeing in this deck. The battlefield chosen is Rebel War Room, which allows you to resolve one of your dice. If it has a resource cost, you do not have to play it. This means that on the one legendary run in this deck, you can get to shoot for a lot of damage once you claim the battlefield. Also, the reason for the Rebel War Room choice is that it doesn't really scale that well with other decks, meaning that it doesn't hurt you if your opponent take it quite as much. Starting our walkthrough with the event cards. I am running 2 yellow unpredictables. This is a 0 card cost. Sorry, something in my throat. Ambush, and it lets you reroll one of your dice. Ambush is a key mechanic for the yellow cards of this deck, meaning that you get to take more turns milling down your hand quickly so you can claim the battlefield or do some really good shots. The reroller die part is really important in this deck because the blank on Admiral Ackbar is the one thing you really don't want to see, so this card kind of cures that. Running 2 logistics, this lets you spot a red character, meaning that you just need to have Ackbar still alive on the field, and resolve one of your resource dice, increasing its value by 1. This is important because there are some really potent cost cards in this deck, so quickly accelerating the resources is a great part of the strategy. Draw Attention is a yellow event, which is here to save Ackbar and do some damage to Finn. Mostly you'll do your redeploy weapons on Finn, and then wait for the opponent to finish him, or you kill him off yourself with Draw Attention, moving the guns to Ackbar, or so he can get to finish off. It is also here because Ackbar only has 9 health and he's the guy you really want to keep on your field. I'm running 2 Take Cover. It's sort of a staple in low health decks. Also it's a 0 cost card, which means it fills out until I can find some really good legendaries or rares to fill in. Aim. This deck is solely focused on range damage, and this 1 cost event lets you turn a die to any side showing range damage, which means it can deal up to 5 damage just from 1 cost in this deck. Really good. Now the single events, I run a single, don't get cocky, letting both players draw 2 cards. This has really been a double-edged blade for this deck. Playing against my friends, I've both lost and won because I had this. So it's a gimmicky thing, knowing when to play it. I will mostly play it when I know I have not that many cards left in my deck, and I know I could potentially draw into one of the bigger cannons, such as the Blaster or the Millennium Falcon coming up. So, Smuggling is another resource potent card. I'm only running 1 because it requires of you to discard a card from your hand to gain a resource and control Finn. And as previously mentioned, Finn is sort of here as a scapegoat to die before Ackbar, meaning that spotting him at the end of the game is not something that'll happen 9 out of 10 times. Another double is Scavenge. It lets you mill the top 3 cards of your own deck and then add an upgrade or support from your discard pile to your hand. This is really potent, again because it's an upgrade and support based victory condition deck. It lets you quickly draw into the weapons that you need to finish off your opponent, and it's a 0 cost yellow event, which is dang good. Hit and Run, ambush and activate one of your red characters is a finisher for Admiral Ackbar. There is a combo using this and an event later to come that quickly finishes off the opponent in 9 out of 10 scenarios. Scramble is a yellow zero cost event that lets you spot a yellow character to reroll all of an opponent's dice. This is here to actually not to make you survive in the late game, but to harass your opponent in the early game. So you see those specials lying around on the Mind Probe, you see them lying around on the Lightsaber, you touch this down, and hopefully you'll block off some early game damage that you could have not prevented Ackbar from taking. Running one disarm to remove one of my dice, showing damage, which is also why it's only at 1 and it's a 1 cost and you need resources for equipment. To discard a weapon or equipment from play. With this deck you can pretty much remove any equipment or weapon. The thing is, the weapons that are dangerous enough to you should want to remove are like Kylo Ren's lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, that sort of things. They're so high cost that you'll only rarely ever get to use this unless you're in a mirror matchup with other cheap weapon decks. But that hasn't really happened a lot for me, so from experience, one of these is enough. I'm running a single defensive position. Play only if you control the battlefield and remove all of an opponent's dice showing a value of 2 or higher. This is a late game finisher because in the late game most people will have enough focus or enough use the force, that sort of thing, to control the dice on their side of the field. Removing everything that has a 2 or more is great against non-special decks. This actually counters this deck because this deck has a lot of 2+2 sides. So that is just great for surviving in the late game. And the big finisher, All In, is the last event. It is a 1 card, completely neutral, and it's grey. Resolve any number of your dice in order of your choice. So using this with Hit and Run means you activate Ackbar, roll all of the equipment dice on him, and then you can resolve them at once with All In. So Hit and Run into All In with Ackbar is a great finishing combo, and I have actually killed up to 2 or 3 characters in one turn using that combo, where the third had taken damage, of course. Okay, so for the support and equipment cards, the important good stuff, I'm running Infamous. Before you play a yellow card, you may exhaust this support to give the ambush keyword to it. So that means that any of my yellow events grant me another action, allowing me to play down my hand faster, and hopefully granting me that early victory that this deck so desperately needs with its 19-point health pool. Running a simple BB-8 for the focus and for the special to reroll, because the dice in this deck are so potent, failing with them is simply not an option that this deck wants to go for. One First Order TIE Fighter, primarily here to remove all shields, especially against like Rey Qui-Gon. Using this with All-In Hit and Run combo is really great. If you've activated this first, then use Hit and Run the next turn, and this sort of happens to line a special, or you might have some focus from Ackbar, then you remove all the shields and do tons of damage with the next follow-up, which is of course the Millennium Falcon. This card is so great. First of all, it doesn't have any blank sides, which is amazing. The least amount of damage it does to an opponent is either free range damage or free cards from their hand, which is also bloody great. Now with the amount of focus dice that are coming up both from Ackbar and from some of the latter supports, this card can potently fire off an opponent's character in one turn. Most characters that have 9 or below health will simply just die against this one. Also, it allows you to play yellow events, so if you get it out early from your discard pile or hand for free, so if you get it out early, you can get to keep recycling your scavenge to get those upgrades that you so desperately want to win early enough for you to control the battlefield and simply go for the victory. Okay, so the next are the upgrades. Scout is a good upgrade. It has a focus die, which I was sort of going for with this, and it has resources, which I was also going for with this deck, since the Millennium Falcon and such require you to have more than 2 during any given turn. Its special is that you can get to see your opponent's hand and discard the cheapest card from it. The good thing about this, I think, is that it gets to remove those zero-cost events that are so annoying to deal with. In a mirror match, you could remove Scramble before it got to get your Millennium Falcon dice out of the way. It removes such cards as Anticipate once you've stacked up with Take Cover. It would be a real bad thing for this deck to lose those shields. So Scout is there, and it also lets you glimpse into what you can expect later on should you just forfeit the game right now because your opponent is holding Datacron and some Use the Force and a Tusken Raider and a Mind Probe early on, so yeah. Alright, the guns is the Stormtrooper rifle, F11D rifle. It has to redeploy, meaning you put it on Finn and then wait for him to die and then move it to Ackbar for the finishing blow. It has great dice for shooting, especially with Rebel War Room as your active battlefield, which makes this one cost 0 if you end your turn by grabbing it, basically, or end the round by grabbing it. The special forces an opponents to deal 2 damage to their characters, distributing the damage as they wish. This is sort of a meh ability, but it's most likely to be good, because at the times you get to finish off using this card, it's just like for harassment. It's not the big finisher, it's there to poke at your opponent's characters until you can finish them with the bigger guns, meaning that this is actually pretty decent, even though your opponent controls the damage. The +1 and the +2 are sort of okay with the Millennium Falcon. That means a minimum of 4 damage, advance from 3 or 5 or 6 if you roll the right one. And that's just one of the equipment cards. Another gun I use is the DL44 Heavy Blaster Pistol. This one has amazing sights. It's so great. It has ambush and is a free cost gun. After you play it, force an opponent to choose and remove one of their dice. So not only do you take the turn, you also get some defense out by removing an opponent's die. It could even be a blank, that doesn't matter. They lost one, they can't re-roll it. It's a good thing for you. And its damage is free for 1, and +2 or a resource, with 2 blanks, meaning that this is one of those cards where you won't use Unpredictable to reroll if you roll up the blank, because the damage it can deal is so potent late game. It comes out and just takes people down. So, last card of this 30 card deck is the IQA 11 Blaster Rifle. This thing finishes off opponents with its +3, 2 for none, or 2 unblockable damage special. It is so great if you can land like the blaster rifle, the blaster pistol, and the regular rifle on Ackbar during the end game and just all in the fucker down. It is seriously great, and most people will go down from one of those shots. Let's do a quick calculation. It's like 6, 8 plus maybe 4. That's 12 damage. That's almost a Vader down from a single roll of this combo. It's really, really good. Including the 1 damage you could have from Ackbar or used to focus to get the dice you want from these guns. There's a high chance you'll finish off most people early on. Now, this deck has the major weakness that is, of course, Qui-Gon Rey, because they have so many shields. You'll be relying on your unblockable damage from this rifle or from the split damage from the F11D rifle, and it still won't be good enough for you to push through, so you'll need a lot of luck playing this deck against that sort of opponent. I also believe there was another weapon here. Yeah, I actually skipped this one. I'll quickly run through it. It's Rey's Staff. It's a melee weapon, dealing some damage. It's actually mostly there as a defensive option, and it's the last card of the deck. It can remove a die showing damage, melee or ranged. So it's there to stop other people's Millennium Falcons from hurting you, sort of, and that's about it. So this does well against Stormtrooper aligned decks, because this deck just shoots down Stormtroopers instantly. It has 0 losses against my Elite Kylo Ren Tusken Raider Balatik deck, which holds a lot of good blue upgrades like Mind Probe and lightsabers and yeah, not just the structure deck stuff. There's like Force Training in there as well, and I'm using the Force Throw from the Rey starter deck as well, so it's pretty potent. But this deck still punches through that much health in like no turns, even though this starts at 8 lower health. I recommend playing it. It's a good budget deck for new players like myself, and hopefully after I get my next boosters, I'll be able to show you this deck with loads of more upgrades in it. Try it out, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next time.